Do you struggle with the stress and anxiety that comes your way? Well, join the club. The bad news is, life won't stop throwing lemons at you. The good news is, there is something that you can do about it. Many wisdom texts speak about the phenomenon of sacred space, a place you can go to disconnect you from the intensity of life and connect you to a place that's higher than your worries. Here are 3 different types of sacred space that anybody can develop and can help you transcend the difficulties and challenges of life. The external sacred space is a place that we create, that we associate with disconnecting from the world. It can be a specific room in our home or a particular place in the house. It can be a specific place that we visit on a regular basis to disconnect from the world that brings us peace. Any of those things can be our sacred space. Just like when we take a flight, we check in our baggage, we very rarely think about the baggage that we've checked in. And in a similar way, our external sacred space helps us to forget about the worries, the trials and tribulations of life. We check in our baggage and enter the sacred space. Even if we have friends and family that are going through some type of mental difficulty, we can help them by assisting them in clearing up the external space. That external clutter is something that affects us internally more than we can imagine. So helping people to clear up their external environment will actually help them to develop an internal space that is more conducive for their growth. The inner sacred space is the internal environment that we are cultivating within. The Bhagavad Gita speaks about the city of the 9 gates, so the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, the mouth, the genitals, and the anus. These 9 gates, we're constantly using them to put information and energy out into the world, and also using them to bring energy and information within. So they have a really powerful effect on how we're actually feeling on the inside. When we're able to carefully manage and monitor the energy flow to and from the city of the 9 gates, we begin to nurture the inner sacred space, which leads to an environment that's more conducive to deal with the challenges that come our way. The Bhagavad Gita gives an example of the ocean, where so many rivers are entering into the ocean, yet the ocean remains calm and fixed and unchanged. And in a similar way, when we develop the sacred inner space, despite whatever challenges and desires may come our way, we can also remain very fixed in our determination and our consciousness. This isn't an obvious one, but the sacred space of relationships is often something that we can take for granted. It's the sacred space we develop amongst other people. We've all heard the saying, we're the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. When we are no longer treating our relationships as a sacred space, there are 4 main symptoms that show us that we need to change something. The first is that we constantly seek approval from the toxic circle that we're around. The second point is that we neglect our God-given abilities because we're not encouraged to pursue what is truly good for us. The third is that we neglect our sacred virtues, things that we actually value, because the circle that we're around isn't encouraging that. And the fourth is that we actually neglect our true core self. The good news is that there are actually 4 symptoms to help us see whether our relationships are a sacred space or not. The first is that we should feel supported and encouraged within the group that we are in. The second is that we should be encouraged to pursue and develop our God-given talents. The third is that we should really value and be uplifted by the people around us to pursue our sacred virtues. And the fourth is that we should be encouraged and pushed to realize our potential and manifest the life that we really want to live. There's a powerful text in the Bhagavad Gita where it says, "What is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled. And what is the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage." So a person that really wants to grow is not interested in the things that a person who doesn't want to grow is interested in. So just remember these 3 sacred spaces: the external sacred space, the internal sacred space, and the sacred space of relationships, and help yourself grow into the life that you really want to live.